Hola mis amigos, ¿cómo están? Soy Hawani. Hoy es sábado, episodio 8. So today's Saturday, episode 8. So we're going to continue working our way through the most commonly used words and verbs in Spanish. And on today's agenda, we've got the verb tener. So the verb tener, which means to have. So to have. So very important verb, you can't go without this one. Okay, it's one that's used all the time. So what we're going to do in this lesson is go through when you'd use the verb tener. I'm also going to give you the conjugations, of course, and then straight after that, towards the end, I'm going to give you some exercises and some questions just to help test you, but also help improve your sense of how to use the verb tener. So let's get into it. So when would you use the verb tener? So you'd use tener when you're talking about possessions, just like in English, possessions that you have. Also, if you're talking about things that you have to do. For example, if I wanted to say I have to go to the gym in English, tengo que ir al gimnasio in Spanish. So you'd use tener in that sense as well. Also, something different for you is we also use tener when we're talking about our age as well in Spanish. So in English, obviously, as you know, I would say I am 33 years old. Whereas in Spanish, I'd say, tengo 33 años. So, tengo 33 años. All right, so let's get into it. Let's have a look at the conjugations for tener. And a quick point with the verb tener, it is irregular as well. So that you will need to memorize these conjugations. All right, so let's start with the yo form. So we have, first up, yo tengo. So, yo tengo. Next up, we've got tú tienes. So, tú tienes. Él o ella tiene. So, él o ella tiene. The nosotros form, nosotros tenemos. So, nosotros tenemos. And finally, we've got ellos o ellas tienen. So, ellos o ellas tienen. All right, so those are the conjugations. So, we'd also use the verb tener when we're talking about if we're hungry. So the word for hunger is hambre. Hambre. All right, so if I wanted to say, I am hungry, how would I say it? Tengo hambre. So tengo hambre. All right, cool. So let's get into the next one now. So bearing in mind, okay, the words for how many, okay, you'd use cuantos. So in this case, we'd use cuantos, and then the word for years in Spanish is años. So años. So if you wanted to ask, how old are you in Spanish, how would you say it? Okay, you'd say, ¿cuántos años tienes? So, ¿cuántos años tienes? All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's say you've got a son. So bearing in mind the word for son is hijo. Hijo. All right, so if you wanted to say my son is 5 years old in Spanish, how would you say it? You'd say, mi hijo tiene 5 años. So, mi hijo tiene 5 años. All right, cool. Just a couple more. So, the word for house in Spanish is casa. So, casa. You've probably seen that one before. So, if I wanted to say we have 3 houses in Spain, how would you say that? So, we have 3 houses in Spain. You'd say, tenemos 3 casas en España. So, tenemos 3 casas en España. All right, let me give you one more. Let's say your parents. So, the word for parents is padres. So, if you wanted to say, my parents have 2 cats, bearing in mind the word for cats in Spanish is gatos. So, gatos. So if you wanted to say, my parents have 2 cats, how would you say it? You'd say, mis padres tienen 2 gatos. So mis padres tienen 2 gatos. Okay, so just a quick recap when you use the verb tener. So remember when we're talking about our age, when we're talking about possessions or things that we have, or if we're also talking about things that we have to do, you'd always use the verb tener. So very important, that one. All right, so keep practicing. As always, if you've got any other questions, feel free to fire them my way. But apart from that, that's it from me for today. Hasta pronto.